I'm going to pretend that this is my microphone because I feel like when people do video essays on YouTube, it makes them look superior when they have a microphone like attached to their shirt or like when they're holding one. I don't have a microphone, and I just wish I was important. Hello everyone, my name is Tyrenee. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. For today's video, as you can see by the title, it's going to be a little more on the serious side. I have been holding this particular idea off for quite some time now, maybe like for a couple weeks, almost to a month, maybe 2 months. And that was strictly because I was afraid of possibly facing backlash. Backlash because of how it could come off without people necessarily watching the whole video from beginning to end. It might be considered to be political, but I mean, there's nothing wrong with exactly being political. If there's something wrong, then there's something that needs to be addressed, and just to spread awareness on whatever that issue is. I will say this video is a little bit of last minute for me. Although I've been thinking on this for a long time, I don't have a full-on script that I could follow and read compared to what I have in the past. So if it's a little bit all over the place, just bear with me. I promise I will get my point across. I also want to give a disclaimer that there is nothing wrong with admiring these characters, you know, when it comes to their physical appearance, but it's just at a certain point that the oversexualization of these two is completely just insane and sometimes can be even vile. But without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the video. Now, it's no secret as of how Tifa is treated to the public, so I really want to start off with there and just break it down for a bit. A lot of people who, I guess, dislike Tifa just push her off as being nothing more than fan service, and that is completely far from the truth. There's so much more to her than just being someone who has large breasts. For Tifa, she has really brought a lot to the story of Final Fantasy VII, and not only she's brought a lot to Final Fantasy VII, but she's really brought a lot to Final Fantasy as a whole. For the story itself, she was someone that Cloud knew of when he was a young kid, and he did have a liking to her, and he felt as if she wouldn't like him back because at that time he was just really considered to be a nobody. So he went off to become a soldier, or tried to at least to become a soldier, in hopes that Tifa would appreciate him more. Now, while he was gone, she was practicing martial arts, and she was just, you know, just being a kid, and with her little cat Fluffy and, you know, things of that sort. She was the most beloved girl in Nibelheim. Fast forward into the events of Crisis Core. She was like the tourist for those who came to visit, and unfortunately when chaos erupted, she was the one who was facing Sephiroth. She was going to confront Sephiroth for not only burning down her home, but killing her dad with her weapon, or his weapon, sorry. And she was 15 years old at the time. I can imagine being 15 years old, and I believe Sephiroth was like in his early 20s at the time. I cannot imagine being 15 years old and willing to face this older man, and obviously what seemed to be that she was trying to attack him for destroying everything that she had lost right then and there. And then after that, she suffered a major injury by him with his sword, and I'm about to get into that next because that is a huge thing itself. She ended up being hospitalized for her injury that she did suffer, and then for her to pay off the medical debt from being hospitalized, she was working basically a dead-end job where she was just making buns, and it was just not really cutting it. And then she had her own apartment, and at first she was just not able to really get the job how it is. And it was even to the point where the owner of the business was like, hey, if you can't keep up, you might as well just leave. Now just imagine being hospitalized after such a tragic experience of facing someone who is much bigger than you, much older than you, attacking you after they killed your father, destroyed your home, and your mother was already gone before that. So at this point, she had no friends, no family. The only person she really had that reminded her of home was obviously Cloud, but obviously Cloud was not there at that time. She didn't reunite with him until 5 years later. So that must have been really tragic for her, and she was so young at the time. I could never imagine being in that situation, and as a teenager, that is just so traumatizing. And I really think that just builds character for who she is. And then eventually she met Jesse and Wedge and Biggs, and then she eventually met Barrett and Marlene and got the job at Seventh Heaven, and that was taking care of her bills more, alongside with joining Avalanche and, you know, just stopping Shinra from just being on that government BS. You know how that goes, but I'm not going to get into all that there because that's a little too close to home nowadays. But I don't know, it's just atrocious that people just push her off as being nothing more than just an object. And that also ties in with how she dresses as well. I did not really see it too much with Remake, considering that, you know, the girls and Cloud do change clothes throughout the events of chapter 9 to, you know, sneak into Don Corneo's place and try to talk to him and figure out what is Shinra's plans doing with anything of that sort. But it really, really, really got bad for me when I saw it, at least. I feel like it got worse when it came to the swimsuit choices that she had for Costa del Sol and Rebirth. Now, realistically, as a woman, when you are going swimming, you're not gonna wear like a snowsuit, or you're not gonna wear, I don't know, mom jeans and like a long sleeve shirt. You're going to wear a swimsuit, and she had a two-piece swimsuit, and then she had like a shirt that was like tied up, and then some shorts. But it was like no matter what she wore, it was a lot of people just, I don't know, just being degrading and disturbing. I've seen a lot of comments about her physical appearance. Now, I will say a lot of people have complimented her as far as her beauty and her personality, and that is fine. But when it comes to the stuff on the outside, and only that is considered to be an issue. And it also brings me back to the scene in Rebirth where Cloud was kind of questioning whether Tifa was really Tifa or not, and Tifa was like, you know, I did suffer some serious trauma during that time. And she said, hey, like, my scar is real. And do you want to see? And of course, when she shows her scar, it's obviously not shown to us, the audience, and it's shown to Cloud. But I also seen people comment about how she was like obviously like showing her breast, and you know, just sexualizing her trauma with that. And it's just downright disgusting. I don't know how many times I've had to like block people from just being disgusting and not really valuing her as the character that she has been developed throughout the course of almost 30 years of this franchise. Her personality and the impact that she has in gaming really makes her shine through. Now, I personally did not know this until like a couple months ago, but I found out that Tifa is actually iconic in the way that she is, because she is actually one of the first, or actually the first, female Final Fantasy character to be in battle without any sort of weapon. Now, there's absolutely no issue for a woman to fight with a weapon. Absolutely no issue with it at all. But it makes her stand out because not only she was just born with the ability to just start kicking and punching people, but she really took the time to train and become the martial arts fighter that she is and loved today. And also her personality really shines through as well, despite all of the hardships that she went through and despite the hatred that she has for Shinra. She still has empathy for others around her, and she's still kind-hearted and overall a sweetheart and can be motherly. I remember a scene in Remake when they were on the train and there was a Shinra employee who was in fear for his life and he didn't understand what was going on, and Tifa was trying to help him, and he was basically like, I'm the enemy, why are you trying to help me? And Tifa was like, I don't want you to die, come on, before it's too late. And I think that was the first time that really sparked my attention with her, because I genuinely did not think, when I got into Final Fantasy as a whole for the first time and played Remake for the first time, did not think I was going to like her, because I thought that she was going to go down the path line of being a female character who can fight, which is okay. But what I've noticed in media is that when there's a female character who is considered to be strong and can fight, they have little to no personality at all. They happen to just not be an interesting character. If they are fighting, it's for revenge, which, I mean, that is what Tifa is doing. But there's other sides of her that make her interesting. I've also seen female characters where if they do fight, they're just very like nonchalant. Leave me alone. I'm not here to be your friend and play games. I'm just here to go on a mission and just stop this empire, or just stop this one person who killed my family a long time ago. I don't care, leave me alone. And they're just like grouchy the whole time. We don't get to see like other things that they might like with Tifa, she's a bartender. She's joked with Aerith about going on a shopping date, things of that sort. We don't get that with a lot of female characters in main media. So I really appreciate how much she stands out with this. And she also can be very motherly. We see that she's motherly with Marlene, and we see her, oh my god, sorry y'all, I actually ended up being on FaceTime for about a good 25 to 30 minutes. Anyways, as I was saying, she can be very motherly with Marlene. We can see a little bit of those moments with Yuffie and even Aerith. I know in Rebirth, Yuffie had motion sickness, and she was always there to comfort her. And she even gave like Aerith, or tried to give Aerith like a massage when she said her back was sore. And of course, we eventually see this with Marlene and Denzel and Advent Children, when Denzel was dealing with the stigma, and of course he lost his parents, so she was caring for him, and she was caring for Marlene as well, while Barrett was out and about. Now we're gonna actually go ahead here and get into the oversexualization of Sephiroth. Sephiroth is obviously the villain of this story here. A lot of people tend to paint him out as like an obsessive stalker with Cloud, and yes, that technically is the case. A lot of people tend to romanticize that, which that could be another video by itself. I'm not too sure if I would make a video on that. I don't have that thoughts of making a video on that at the moment, but if that is something y'all are actually curious of seeing, I would be more than happy to do like a full-on video essay as far as that there. But behind all of that, he's just an individual who is heartbroken. You know, before everything fell apart, he was this like huge hero to everybody, and he had a hard time living up to the expectations that everybody had when it came to him being a first-class soldier. He was incredibly knowledgeable with materia, and we can see like a soft side of him when he was younger in Ever Crisis, and we see it a little bit with his relationship with Genesis and Angel, and even with Zack throughout the events of Crisis Core before everything came to light and fell apart. Now, after he discovered the truth about his past, he gained like this Messiah mindset or chosen one mindset of him feeling like he had to be the one to destroy the planet and, you know, just do what his mother had asked of him to do, or feel that his mother had asked of him to do, so they can take the world for themselves and just destroy humanity for what it is. So as stated before, he has destroyed all of Nibelheim and Tifa's dad, but he also took away the life of Cloud's mother. There's really no sense or way or form to really romanticize someone who is not only a mass murderer but just a complete obsessive stalker. I don't think it should be romanticized in any shape or form, regardless it is fiction or reality. There's a way to acknowledge that without making it seem like it's cute or like desired. I do understand that a lot of people can have an attraction to him, which is, there's nothing wrong with that there, but as far as the actions, it's not really something that should be forgivable or explained of. And I do sympathize with his character because he was so young and just dealing with a whole lot of things throughout the events of Ever Crisis and Crisis Core, and I believe Ever Crisis is still an ongoing story at this moment here. I may be incorrect, so please feel free to correct me if I am. I haven't really been keeping up with Ever Crisis when it comes to playing the games, but I do try to keep tabs with it as far as stuff that I'm seeing on Twitter and just things of that sort. But it's also been sense of oversexualization as far as a particular quote, which is the quote that he had mentioned in Advent Children. At least from what I've seen so far, I'm not fully experienced with the Final Fantasy VII compilation, but in Advent Children, he had stated, "On your knees, I want you to beg for forgiveness." And of course, that can be taken in a sexual manner, but a lot of people really fawn over that when, of course, he is saying that to his nemesis, in which I have stated before, he has manipulated him, possessed him, just really taken advantage of him for the worst. There was also a scene in Remake where, of course, you can obviously that his victim is like in panic mode and freaking out about seeing this illusion of Sephiroth that only he can see, of course, and you can see that Sephiroth is towering over him, and a lot of people just rave about that. And realistically, I know that if Sephiroth was real, a lot of y'all would be afraid of him. I'm not the biggest like Sephiroth fan. I do sympathize with him to a certain degree, but I know in real life, if I ever came across that man, I would be running for my life. There's also a moment too where I had noticed leading up to the release of Rebirth. We see Cloud can obviously be shirtless throughout the moment of the crew just relaxing at Costa del Sol. And it's funny, but it's not. But I noticed that there was, I think, a tweet. I came across either a tweet or a TikTok not too long ago leading up to Rebirth. But it was just shown that with Cloud, it's literally, I guess, degrading for him or just considered to be disgusting when he is shirtless. I've seen people who kind of tell Cloud or just make comments about Cloud like, oh, he needs to put a shirt on, little slut, whore. I don't know if I can say this on YouTube. Hopefully I don't get this video taken down. But with Sephiroth, it can be considered as empowering. And I know it's technically a joke as far as how people treat women and men when a woman is wearing, I guess, something that's a little bit more revealing compared to a man. I understand that is like the pun there. But it just really goes to show how the oversexualization of Sephiroth is in fact real. And what's even worse is that unfortunately I came across things where people would not only sexualize them individually but even together, and it makes it worse when it's a power imbalance between the two, obviously because one individual is younger than the other. But I've unfortunately seen just disgusting thoughts and opinions on them as far as the whole incident of Tifa just trying to stand up to Sephiroth after seeing that her dad died and her hometown was burnt down because of him. And I don't think a lot of people care or seem to realize that you're talking about a child in that unfortunate circumstance there. Now, I want to say, as far as these two, there is nothing wrong with admiring their appearance for the way that it is, but I feel like when you admire the beauty of someone, it also should tie in with how great of a character that these two individuals are. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with having a fictional crush on either of these two. There's nothing wrong with just anything. If you're complimenting their eyes, their hair, they are nice looking individuals. But when it comes down to just separating the two with the personalities and the appearance and just completely throwing the personalities out the window, that's when it becomes an issue overall for the two of them. This video is also not to shame individuals who make artwork in a liberated manner. It's not to shame people who create fan fictions or just anything at sort between these two, because that is your art. I cannot tell anyone how to express themselves in a creative manner. I'm a creative individual, and you know, who am I to tell somebody else, and who can tell me how to express myself creatively? But it's just something that I've personally noticed extremely in this community since I'm a part of it, and I'm pretty sure this also happens in a lot of other communities and fandoms. But I think in this aspect, it's a little bit more harsh or more obvious to notice, considering that Final Fantasy VII is such a huge piece of media and it has a huge fan base. So please do not take this as me being mean and just shaming people for liking these individuals here. Overall, in conclusion, I will say that both of these characters are written very well, whether you like them or not, and they do deserve so much better than what the public has given them throughout the time of Final Fantasy VII being of existence. Well, that is actually all for today's video here. Thank you so much for tuning in. This was literally like a last minute kind of thing that kind of came to my mind, and thank you for sticking around and just hearing me what I have to say and just trying to get my point across throughout all of this here. Please do not forget to like, comment, subscribe. Please follow me on all social platforms, And I love you, love you, love you with all of my heart. And I can't wait to see you guys again soon. Thank you.